Hi everybody, my name's Ed Bracher and you may know I'm the Chief Exec of RDA UK, and I'm really excited and delighted to be here now introducing the consultation for RDA's new strategy. We have done a lot of thinking and developing of ideas over the last year, and we're hoping to launch this early in 2022. But before we do that, I want to go through some of those ideas and explain our thinking and ask for your feedback and your thoughts and input. So I'm going to go through the strategy and please respond. You'll see at the end there's a survey monkey for you to complete to give us your responses to the survey. As we come out of the pandemic and the lockdown, I hope that this strategy is going to be an exciting and motivating piece of work for you to get behind and for you to give us your thoughts on. The basis, as you will see, is the dual aims of both ensuring that our network is strong and sustainable for the future, but also responding to the increasing demand for our services and for new types of our services so that we can grow and meet that demand. So we're talking about strength and sustainability and growth, and I completely understand that those two are linked together. We can't have the second without the first. We do so much for so many people, and we really want to expand that and work and support more people with the use of our horses. We want to use our success and our momentum and our experience that we've developed over the last 50 years to develop our services and to reach ever more people. So please listen to what I've got to say and respond to the survey, which, as I said, I will tell you about at the end of this. And let me know what you feel about our ideas and about the thinking behind them so that we can make sure that this strategy is as strong and as successful as it possibly can be. First though, I just wanted to give a little bit of scene setting and remind everybody where we are today. So currently, where RDA works through around 500 member groups and accessibility mark centres, we're supporting about 25,000 disabled children and adults, and as you'll know, that is all supported with an amazing network of around 18,000 volunteers. We've built that up over a long time, and it's a strong and successful network, and I'm grateful to everybody who's part of it. We deliver really important services, and the information and the data we have about our impact is strong too. So for example, we know that our work has a really significant effect, not just on the physical outcomes for our riders and carriage drivers, but also on things like confidence and communication ability. But we also know that demand massively outstrips supply, and many of you will have seen this in your own relationship with RDA, where we can't meet the number of people who want to access our services. So that's the problem that we need to resolve, alongside making sure that our groups have a strong and sustainable future. So we want to adapt and work in ways that means we can address more of that demand, but at the same time strengthen and work with the current network. So as you'll see, I keep repeating the idea this is dual aims of both growth and strength and sustainability. And what I'm going to do now is take you through our 6 big ideas, one at a time, that we think will deliver that over the next few years and deliver not only the growth but also the platform for a strong and successful future beyond the first period of growth. So our first big idea around these strategic plans is about growth, and it won't surprise you as that's a key priority. And what we want to do is over the next 3 years expand RDA to be able to support 35,000 disabled people across new groups, new activities, but also within the current network. We all know there is pressure to do more, and as I've said, we're determined to try and meet some of that pressure. And I know this is going to be difficult, and when I talk about growth, you may be thinking, well, that's going to be a hard nut to crack within the context of my bit of RDA, and I accept that, and we want to work with people to drive growth where we can, but also to put things in place to enable future growth or that strength and sustainability where not. But we do believe that we have a moral imperative to try and work with more people and provide more support in all the ways that we can. I'm absolutely realistic about the challenge and realistic that about the change in approach we need at RDA UK as well to both support and enable this to happen. And the first big change that we are proposing to bring in is for RDA UK to become much more directive and proactive about driving growth. We're not going to just wait for people to come to us and set up an RDA group. We want to go out there and both find ways that we can create more supply and also then match that up with the demand for our activities that's there. We know that regional teams are already stretched and we know that some groups have told us that they simply aren't able or don't think they want to grow, and we will accept that and work within that and provide support for those parts of the organisation to enable them, as I say, to become strong and perhaps grow in the future. But we do have that moral obligation to do more, which I want you to think about, but I hope you would agree with, so that we can supply our services to more people. So some specific ideas that we've been developing. Firstly, I mentioned proactively setting up new groups and changing the way that we operate to do this. So for 50 years, we've waited for people to come to the organisation and help them set up a group. What we want to do now is go out there and work with those riding schools, other establishments, people who might be interested, and directly go in there and show them why what we're doing could work in their context so we can create more supply for what we're doing. Secondly, we want to work with the existing RDA network in a much more proactive way in order to help provide you with the resources and the skills you need to do more. And you'll hear more about that in just a moment. And thirdly, we think we could be working much more effectively in partnership with other organisations who have skills and experiences that they could deliver through our facilities, but using places that currently aren't being used because not every RDA group operates every day of the week. So for example, we could be linking up with a charity like Horseback UK in Scotland and delivering their services for people with serious mental health issues in other parts of the country with their support and direction, but with our facilities, horses and volunteers. And we think partnerships like that would allow us to effectively grow our services and to support more people. So we want to identify where the problems with demand is, help provide the supply, and then link the two together, in a sense, brokering a relationship and providing more services for more people. So when I'm talking about this, I want you to think about things like whether you think it's right that we should try and grow. What do you think are the opportunities and barriers in your particular experience with RDA? And are there areas that you think we should be particularly supporting in order to enable this to happen? So our second big area of focus is around strengthening the current network of groups, and specifically working to ensure that our groups and volunteers have the resources and the skills that are needed to be ambitious, confident, and to thrive in the future. So we are absolutely determined to make sure that you have a reliable supply of those skills and resources that will allow you to continue to do the fantastic job that you do. We know that many groups are struggling to continue, let alone grow, because of the difficulty, particularly in finding enough of the right horses, of finding volunteers, of getting volunteers to become coaches and having the supply of coaches that you need, and often through having reliable and stable venues, excuse the pun. But we also know that we can address those key issues and give you greater confidence to be able to find those things and move forward. So we are, for example, proposing a plan to bring more horses into RDA, working with people who can supply horses and providing ways of speeding up the process, which we can support, and providing training for those horses, so that if you're not a group that has the space or the skill or the time to bring on horses, we can do that for you and provide you with horses that are ready to go. Similarly, there are ways, a little bit like I was talking about earlier around growth, for us to be going out and proactively supporting the recruitment of more volunteers. There's a lot of talk about the crisis in volunteering in the UK. In fact, according to the media, more and more people are volunteering, and we need to make sure we have a piece of that. We all know that volunteering at RDA is a fun and positive experience, but actually we know it's a really beneficial experience for the volunteers as well. So we can make more of that and link up with organisations both nationally and regionally to make sure that we're right up there and seen as a valid volunteering experience. And also to really focus on the fact that you do not have to have years of equestrian experience to come and volunteer for RDA, so we can broaden our pool. Thirdly, we know that there are challenges in terms of getting the recruitment and training of coaches right. There's some practical issues which we absolutely will address, but also just if we want to be supporting more people, we know we'll need more coaches, and we know we'll need coaches with different sets of skills. So once you're starting to work with people with dementia or with people with mental health, maybe you don't need a riding coach, but we need a different kind of person to support that activity. And we recognise that we'll need to provide both the training and define what kind of support you will need to do that, and we will deliver that. We're going to be doing that at both the grassroots group level, but also making sure that across the network we provide the high level support and more of those people who can provide that training and support into your group so that you can carry on and do those services. We're conscious as we branch out into new areas, so groundwork and working with mental health, as I've said, we need to broaden that level of experience and skill and possibly work in partnership with other organisations. So it's not always about us developing our own new training, it could also be about us working better and smarter with what's already happening out there. We also want to look at other areas of training that we think will support your group, particularly as the world around us changes. So more on financial support and management, more on helping groups access local statutory funding, which traditionally is not a strong area for RDA, more on providing support for you if you're employing people, which is an increasingly common issue across RDA groups. So we will be doing that. We think by doing this we can help solve those key issues that many RDA groups face in terms of feeling really confident about the future, and by doing that give you the space to think about how you could change or expand your services, but most importantly feel confident that you have a strong future in front of you. So specifically focus on horses, on volunteers, on coaches, and on the types of training we deliver. So as I'm talking about this, think about whether that chimes with you and with your experience with RDA, and whether that would help you feel more confident about your future. And also think about whether there's areas we have missed that you could let us know about. So the third big idea that I want to talk to you about is our structure, and the R there is about RDA UK. So whatever your relationship with RDA, I hope you realise and are aware that the regional and county volunteers provide a huge amount of support and do an awful lot to promote RDA at your local level. However, we want to make sure that that structure remains and becomes even more robust as we go forward, and that enables us to provide groups and volunteers with the support that you need to be strong and to deliver that growth. So as I said before, we know that regional teams are really stretched thin. There's not a lot of extra space to do more work, and as and when we're able to expand our services and expand the number of people, we'll need to be able to make sure that support at a regional and county level can change and flex to continue to deliver that work. So we need to ensure that we are also only asking volunteers to do what they're capable of and what they have the capacity to do, and we're conscious that as we've developed over the past, those roles have grown. So the first thing that we are proposing to do is to look really hard at the regional structure and the structure particularly of regional teams, the tasks that they're doing, and change and adapt this to make it more fit for the future that we are proposing. In particular, that may well mean some paid roles at a regional level to allow us to be targeted and accountable in terms of things like delivering growth, and to ensure that we're not asking already stretched volunteers to do ever more things. Secondly, we want to bring in local hubs. So these will be RDA groups that are working within your local area, your region or your county, where there's particular expertise and ability to support other groups around the things that we know you need to do. So that could be around bringing on horses, it could be around supporting carriage driving groups and providing the training into that, or it could be around developing a whole new area of, for example, working with people with mental health and supporting groups in the area to deliver that service. Those hubs may be 3 different places, or it could be that we create one big place that has the capacity to do all of that. Either way, what RDA has done really, really well over the last 50 years is deliver things locally, keep decisions local and keep support local, and we think this is a way of retaining that value, which is really important to us, but also making sure that all the groups and volunteers have that access to support and experience and training that you need. Thirdly, we're going to be looking at the membership model, so the way that the national organisation formally and informally interacts with local groups, and we think it's time that that's updated and that we recognise that there's a lot of different styles of RDA groups and different ways you do things, and that's great, but maybe we should be recognising that in the way that we formalise the relationship with you. We'll be putting that into a new group charter, which is really a way of updating the current group membership agreement, but allowing us to do that in a way that sets out the obligations and the expectations on both sides of the arrangement, and defining the relationship we have with you in that way. And as I've mentioned before, as we develop new activities and new services, we'll make sure that your regional and local RDA teams have both the capacity and the knowledge and experience to be able to support those activities, whatever it is that you're doing. So focusing on the need to support you at a local level, but updating that and making that also strong and stable so that we can create that foundation for growth within our regional and county teams and support you to do the same at your group is really the focus of this area. And I guess the areas I want you to think about is whether this set of ideas really creates a situation where you can envisage a strong future and the support you need to do whatever it is that you're doing within RDA. And secondly, also, once again, just to think about whether there are any other areas in this sort of section that you feel we might have missed. Right, so the fourth big idea I want to talk to you about is the way we engage people. Now, we all know that RDA is fundamentally an organisation about people. We've got the riders, the drivers, all of our volunteers, the families and supporters around those participants, and the people who support us in myriad other ways. And what we are determined to do is to make sure that that diverse range of voices is both respected and valued and contributes to developing the way that we do things within this organisation. We know from research we did during the pandemic that RDA is a really important part of many people's lives in the sense of creating a community of people who all share a set of values and a vision, and we want to build on that and make sure that we capitalise on that. But we also know from speaking directly to participants that sometimes they don't feel their voices are heard, and they don't feel necessarily included in the way we develop things. Of course, this experience varies, but it's absolutely vital that the people we are here to support and for whom this organisation exists are able to input into the way we define and develop support for them. I suspect sometimes that's the case for volunteers as well, and we will think about that too. We also know that we're not currently using our data well enough, so that's data related to finding out about the impact that we have and the experience that our participants have with the organisation, and we need to do more on that. But it's also data in terms of how we interact directly with people and making sure that we're getting that right and things are kept accurate and up to date, and we need to address that. And we know that in many ways we're already quite a diverse organisation, but also in many ways we don't have enough diversity. So we need to look at that, and we need to try and think about what we can do to change that. It's an increasingly important area of society, as we've all heard over the last couple of years, and so it's not something we should be shying away from. So, some of our practical ideas and proposals. First of all, we want to set up an RDA UK-wide participant engagement plan. And what that will do is gather together the people we're here to support, get their input, their ideas and their feedback, so that we can use that firstly to ensure that what we're already doing is fit for purpose and delivering what they want, but also as we develop new ideas, we're developing them in the way that the people who they're going to support want us to do. So making sure that those participants' voices are really heard in the way that we develop this organisation. Secondly, we want to transform our data management and our data services. And I know this isn't always the most exciting topic, but it's really, really vitally important for us. We want to be able to give people within the organisation more control over the data we hold about you and the way that we communicate with you to enable us to do that better. And really importantly, we want to use our data capabilities to drive more research into both impact and experience. And that regular research into impact and experience is something that we want to make sure that we're doing much better, both for our volunteers and our participants, so that we can see and prove that what we're doing is really working for everybody. And finally, back to this idea of diversity, we want to celebrate the ways and the places where we are diverse, but also address those areas where we're not, and find ways of ensuring that the RDA community reaches out and includes the whole diverse nature of people in the UK. So this is a big area, but a really important one. And the things I'd like you to be thinking about is whether you think your voice is heard within the organisation, and the plans and ideas that I've mentioned would help either strengthen that or improve that. And secondly, whether there are groups that I haven't mentioned that you think we should be prioritising in terms of engagement and the way we communicate with people. So have a think about those things. The fifth idea I want to mention today is around our brand. And in order for us to achieve our goals and ambitions, it's absolutely vital that people have a better understanding of what we do, and that we're able to get more people to understand that. So our objective here is to ensure that we have a brand that feels relevant to everybody who's involved with RDA, and which is recognised particularly for the impact that we have and the part that we play in the nation's health. As is often said, we want to move away from this basic and sometimes slightly patronising view of what we do, and ensure that more people really understand the importance and the value of the services we deliver. So we want a brand that means more people know about our work, that those people know accurately about our work and really understand the value and impact of what we do, and that engages them in a way that makes them want to become involved or support us or proactively push RDA forward. So we will complete the brand project, which was started in 2019, and I know many of you will have contributed to that. You'll be aware that, of course, COVID cut that short. Last year was not the time to take that forward, but we will be completing that project as quickly as we can. We'll also be launching a new RDA UK-wide communications and marketing strategy, And importantly, what we want to do here is be really clear about the audiences that we want to engage with and we want to influence, and make sure that we can flex and adapt our message to engage those people. So rather than just going out there and trying to encourage the whole of the UK population to get involved with RDA, we will think about who are the people we specifically want to target and go and actually do things that we think will engage those people. I've mentioned looking at impact and experience earlier, but we also want to have more general research here to provide a deeper foundation and deeper understanding of what we do, and engaging with other organisations and what's already out there to deliver that research and understand the value of what we do will be part of this plan. And an important part of this is us providing a toolkit for groups and volunteers across the organisation, so that you feel really confident about the key messages and what we can get out there. We think if we can work more collaboratively in this area, then we're going to have a much better chance of success and ensuring people, as I say, really understand the value of what we do. So think about how much this resonates with you. How important is it that we have a brand that is a strong brand and that's recognised, as I say, particularly for the impact we have and the important part we play in delivering good well-being for all of our participants. So the sixth and final big area that I want to talk about is, of course, money and finance. And probably this is most important of all. It underpins everything, and we can have all the ideas and proposals we like in the world, but we all know if we can't raise the money to deliver them, they don't mean much. So our objective here is for all parts of RDA to be financially robust, to have a more diverse range of income, and to use that to generate the money that we all need to deliver our ambitions. We know that fundraising is hard, we really do, and we've seen that in the last couple of years, and it's highlighted, the pandemic has highlighted many of the challenges. However, it's also really highlighted some of the opportunities and forced many parts of the organisation into thinking about different and new ways of bringing money into the organisation. So we need to think about how we can all diversify our income and particularly drive up what we might call non-fundraised income. So rider fees, do we charge our riders? If not, could we? If not, to what extent? And across the board, we'll be thinking about these kinds of things and providing support and advice for your groups to generate more income in that way, but also looking to do it ourselves. So are there commercial opportunities that we have in order to generate income? Secondly, we're going to have a whole new fundraising strategy, and a really key part of this is about collaborative fundraising and looking at how we can work together better to raise more money for all parties. So at the moment, different parts of RDA fundraise quite separately from each other, and we think there's absolute strength in bringing that together and working in partnership more often in order to drive up the income. And I think within that, there will be opportunities for RDA UK to support you and whether it's your group or your region to raise more money in order to do things in your part of RDA. Within this, I haven't mentioned the National Training Centre yet in this webinar, but absolutely we are learning by experience and hoping to pass that on here at the National Training Centre, and making sure that we absolutely embrace every commercial opportunity to drive up our own income as well. So we'll be providing support and training into groups and regions to do all of this work, but also developing our own fundraising capability so we can increase the income of RDA UK. So once again, in this area, does this give you confidence that we're going to be able to deliver our plans, support you to deliver your plans, and are there other areas that you think we should be focusing on in this part? So, in summary, you just heard 6 big ideas that we have that we think will allow this organisation to both grow but also to be sustainable and strong for the future. Our plan is that by 2025 this will allow us to grow to 35,000 riders and drivers, or indeed people benefiting from this organisation in new ways, and that by the end of the decade we will increase that substantially so that we're closer to 60,000 people. That sounds like a lot, but in fact when you look at the numbers involved, we're only moving from 1% of the people who might want to access RDA services to 2% of the people who want to access them by the end of the decade. So that's where we feel there's a moral imperative for us to grow, but we recognise that this first period has got to be about a lot of strength and capacity building in order for us to be able to deliver that really big ambition by the end of the decade. So, as you've heard me say, we're going to focus around how we can grow, how we can provide the resources and the skills to make your groups strong, about how we can adapt our own RDA UK structure to provide the support for your groups, about how we engage, communicate with and listen to people, about our brand, and about how we can fundraise to finance all of these ideas. In each of these 6 areas, we've considered the current context and the practical steps we believe are necessary for us to change and move forward, and ultimately to benefit the people we're here to support. As we've said, we believe that growth is absolutely vital, but so is the sustainability and the strength of the network, so we will be working on both of those. What I hope you've heard from this presentation is some ideas and plans that really resonate with you and that excite you and help and allow you to see how we can take this organisation forward. Creating a strategy like this is a complex process and it needs your input. So please do think about what you've heard and let me know what you think and respond. Please use the link provided with this webinar to the SurveyMonkey survey, which allows you to provide feedback to us and us to respond to that. My vision is that with our experience and success over the last 50 years and with these ambitious plans that we're putting together, we can continue from strength to strength. We have an amazing organisation with an amazing heritage and a real energy to do more. And I think we can and should do that so that more people can benefit in new ways and we can move with the times. And I really, really hope that this webinar has explained how we think we can do that and has excited you about the possibilities for us to do that. So thank you.